Hey, what's up, friends? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're learning Daf Chaf Gimel of Masechta Shabbis. Just a quick overview of the page before we begin. The page will start out with talking about who is chayav to light Hannukah candles. We'll then move on to discuss what are the best oils that you should use when lighting Hannukah candles. What are the brachas that we make on Hannukah candles? What if you have multiple doors to your home? Do you have to put a menorah at each one of them? Well, we'll find out. Then on Daf Chaf Gimel Beis, we get into a few cool, interesting agaritas about lighting, I think really more Shabbos candles. And then we are, at the very end of the page, we're just going to kind of continue in our exploration of the Mishnah and one of the oils that you are not allowed to light with. Exciting stuff. Okay, cool. Well, this is a really great page, so let's get going. We're going to start on Daf Chaf Gimel Amud Aleph. About 8 or 9 lines into the page already. So it says V'hashta de Amrinan, yeah? So here we go. So V'hashta de Amrinan Hadlaka Osa Mitzvah. Okay, so now that we've concluded yesterday by saying that the main mitzvah of lighting Hannukah candles is the lighting of the candles and not the plopping it down of the candles. So once we've established that the main mitzvah is lighting the Hannukah candles, well, then we have to establish who is allowed to light Hannukah candles and who isn't. Now, I think that the assumption here is, remember, we are all accustomed to Hannukah candles being mahadran min mahadran, being every single person in the house lights 8, one candle on the first night, then 2, then 3, like the mahadran min mahadran. I think that the Gemara is assuming that not everybody's doing mahadran min mahadran, and we said that the mitzvah of Hannukah is ner ishu veso. So the question is, who can be that person in the household lighting the candles for everybody else? So, hidlika cheresh shotavikain, if a deaf person, a dumb person, I'm not sure if there's a better word for that, or a child, if they were to light the Hannukah candle for everybody else, well then lo asav lo klum, doesn't count. You'd have to get a better candidate who would count. Okay. Isha vada madlika, a woman can certainly be the one to light Hannukah candles. Dam Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, because said Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi, the same thing that he says in the context of Megillah, which is Nashim chayavos b'ner Hannukah. Well, he doesn't say ner Hannukah by Megillah, but he says that Nashim achayavos in ner Hannukah sha'afin hayu b'oso hanes, because they were also included in that miracle. And Rashi says, what was that miracle? So he says 2 things. Shegazu yivanim al kol besulos. I'm in the Rashi on the second line of the page. Hayu b'oso hanes. Shegazu yivanim al kol besulos hanisuos hanisaos li'ibal l'tafsa tchila. The Greeks had made some kind of terrible decree where every virgin girl who was getting married had to first sleep with some kind of Greek officer. Okay. V'al yad isha naise anes, and then it also says that by way of a miracle, the miracle was done. Now Rashi does not elaborate. Often people assume that there is this woman named Yocheved who is involved in the miracle. Honestly, I'm not really sure what the story of Yocheved is, but also apparently that, I don't know, there's questions about that story, but Rashi actually takes us, there's a reference there to Megillas Tainus. So I actually looked up Megillas Tainus, and so Megillas Tainus is just a brisa. In some of the Gemaras they have in the back of Masechta Tainus. I actually found it on the Sefaria. You could just search for Megillas Tainus, and you can just read Megillas Tainus, which is cool. Anyway, so over there, it talks about that apparently one of the daughters of Matisyahu Kohen Gadol, who was one of the Chashmonaim, so she was getting married, and rather than allowing this officer guy to sleep with her, they just kind of defeated the people. So therefore, it was sort of through, I suspect that Rashi is referring to this, member of the Maccabee family, who that on account of her, they beat up a whole bunch of Greeks. Okay, fine. So men and women are equally chayav in lighting Hannukah candles, and therefore, it can be either a man or a woman to light the Hannukah candles for everybody else in the household. At least that's how I understand it. Rav Sheshes, says the holy Rav Sheshes, Achsanai chayav b'nei Hannukah. A guest is chayav to light Hannukah candles. Reb Zera, Meiresh Kavina Beirav Mishtatafna Befrite Bade Ushpiza. Reb Zera says that originally when he was a bacher, when he wasn't yet married, and he would go to study by the Beis HaMedrash, and he would be a guest at somebody's house, so he would contribute a little bit of money to pay for like the oil and the wicks, and that way he would be, since he had a chiyuv to light candles, he would join in with the rest of the family by contributing to the expenses of the Hannukah candles. Basur Dinasivi, Reb Zera then continues that Basur Dinasivi Itza, after I married a woman, Amina, I said, Hashta Vade Lo Tzrichana, now I certainly do not need to contribute to the Hannukah lighting of the house that I am a guest at, since they are certainly lighting for me at home. I guess his wife, or maybe anybody else who was in his house was lighting for him at home. Therefore, he didn't need to contribute to the candles of the place he was staying. But what about before he was married? Didn't he have a family still that was at home? Maybe Dafka, maybe it's not talking about, I don't know, maybe specifically a wife is different than like the rest of your family. Okay, fine. I think Dafka Svardim, if there's somebody lighting for you at home, they wouldn't light. Meaning, if I recall correctly, when I was in yeshiva, so all the Ashkenazim, all of the guys who were like Ashkenazim, so they would all light Hannukah candles. But I think the Sephardim wouldn't light Hannukah candles because back at home in New York, even though we were in Beit Shemesh in Israel, back at home in New York, their families were lighting for them, if I remember correctly. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, Kol Hashmanim Kulan Yafin L'Ner V'Shem Zayis Min HaMuvchar. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says, look, you can use any candles that you want for, I guess, Ner Hannukah. However, the ideal oil would be Shemen Zayis, would be olive oil. Okay, fine. Amar Abaye, said Abaye, Meiresh have Mahadar Mar Amishcha Desumsime. So Abaye says that originally Mar, who's Mar? Yesterday we said that Mar was his teacher Rabbah. So I'm going to assume that Mar is still his teacher Rabbah. So Abaye said that his teacher Rabbah used to prefer sesame oil for Hannukah candles. However, Amar Haimashich Nehore Tvei, because Rabbah's thought, his logic was, well, sesame oil outlasts all the other oils, and I want my Hannukah candles to last as long as possible, so let me use sesame oil. Kevin the Shamala, the Hadar Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, Mahadar Amishcha Dezeisa, Amar Haitzalil Nehore Tvei. However, once Rabbah heard the statement of Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi that the best oil is olive oil, so then he scrapped the sesame oil, and from then on he would always go for olive oil, because he said that the flame produced by the olive oil is the clearest. Okay, what does Rashi say? He says, Salil, in the Rashi, Salil Nehore, Salul Umeir. It is the cleanest light, it is the clearest light, and it shines the best. Okay? From Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi, Kol Hashmanim Yafin L'Dio V'Shem Zayis Min HaMuvchar. So the way that they would make dio, the way that they would make ink, apparently, is that they would take some kind of flame, some kind of oil, and they would create a flame, and they would burn the oil, and then when you burnt the oil, so the flame would create smoke, right? There would be smoke coming from the flame. They would then put some kind of glass kind of, vessel on top of it, and all of the smoke would then stick to would kind of like smoke up the glass vessel, get all black. They would then collect all of the blackness from the glass that was above the flame, and they would add some oil to all of this blackness. They would leave it out in the sun, and then that's how you would get the, and then they would mix it together with oil, they would leave it out in the sun, and then that's how they would get their like powder, I guess, for their inks. So Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi says that when you're doing this process and you're creating black ink, so Shemen Zayis is actually the best ink to use for creating dio. They asked Legabel or La'ashin, for which step of the process is Shemen Zayis the best? Is it best for the smoke, right? Does it create the best color black smoke? Or is it no? Maybe you can use a different oil to create the smoke, but then you will mix it afterwards. After you've collected the black smoke from the glass, you will mix it with oil. Maybe that is where olive oil is ideal. So Tashma, the Tani Rav Shmuel Bar Zutri, that Rav Shmuel Bar Zutri taught, Kol hashmanim yafen lidio v'shemen zayis min amufcher bein legaba bein la'ashen. So Rav Shmuel Bar Zutri says that all oils are good for creating dio. However, olive oil is the best, and that applies both to the oil that you add later to mix it together before drying it out in the sun, as well as to the oil that you will use to burn and create the smoke itself. Rav Shmuel Bar Zutra, so this is interesting, Masni Achi, so he teaches like this. So we just quoted Rav Shmuel Bar Zutri. This now appears to be somebody else named Rav Shmuel Bar Zutra, or there's actually a different text that just says that it's Ika da Amri, that those who say, meaning it's the same Rav Shmuel Bar Zutri, and some say he said the following thing, which is, Kola Ashanin Yafin Lidio Vishemen Zayis Min Amufcha, that Davka, all these smokes are good for ink, but olive oil creates the best smoke, but in terms of mixing it together, I don't know what would necessarily be the best. Maybe all of them are equally good. Amar Rav Huna, said Rav Huna, Kol Asrafin Yafin Lidio, any saps from trees would work well for creating ink. I guess if you burn the sap, it would create a good smoke. Usraf kitaf yafim mikulam. However, the best sap is balsam sap. Sweet. Amar Rav Chia Bar Ashi, Amar Rab, says the holy Rav Chia Bar Ashi in the name of Rab, Hamadlik ner shel Hannukah, somebody who lights a Hannukah candle. Again, it's saying ner shel Hannukah, right? Singular. I think the assumption being ner ishu veso, one candle per house. Sarich levarich, he needs to make a bracha. Okay, somebody lights a Hannukah candle, needs to make a bracha. Rav Yirmiyah Amar, said Rav Yirmiyah, haroeh ner shel Hannukah tzarich levarich. Somebody who sees a Hannukah candle needs to make a bracha. So if you're in the market and you see that somebody has already lit his Hannukah candle, so you can look at that Hannukah candle and make a bracha. And Rashi points out it's as long as you have not yet lit your own Hannukah candles. And then there was a note on the Rashi which says, and that's also even if you're not planning to light your own Hannukah candles. But if you're going to, then I guess you would just go home and make a bracha when you light at home. Okie dokie. Amar Rav Yehuda, said Rav Yehuda, Yom Rishon haroeh mevarich beis umadlik mevarich gimel. So on the first night of Hannukah, somebody who's making a bracha for seeing a candle, so he would make 2 brachas, and somebody who is lighting the candle himself would make 3 brachas. Now we haven't yet said what these brachas are. Okay, we're going to say what they are in a minute, but we could say for now that the person who sees them would be basically the 3 brachos minus la'adlik ner shel Hannukah, because you're not actually lighting the Hannukah candle, you're just looking at it. But you would say she'asa nisan la'avosenu bayom mehem bazman hazeh, as well as she'achiyanu v'kimanu v'yanu lazman hazeh. And somebody who's actually lighting candles would say those 2 plus la'adlik ner shel Hannukah. Mikan ve'elach ma'adlik mevarich shtayim v'roeh mevarich achas. From days 2 through 8, then somebody who's just making a bracha on seeing the light would only say but he wouldn't say lahadlik or shechianu. And somebody who is lighting, they would say lahadlik and she'asa nisim, but not shechianu. So which is the bracha? So I just told you that the one that we're going to drop is shechianu, that you're not going to say it after day 1. So which bracha do we drop from days 2 through 8? So the Gemara answers Ziman. We drop shechianu, that is both for the looker and for the lighter. V'nim ot nes. How come we drop shechianu? Why don't we drop she'asa nisim? So the Gemara says, well, nes kol yomei iseh. Well, the miracle happened every day. Now, I think there's like a cute little line. You could say, nes kol yomei iseh, ki'ilu, take it out of the context of the Gemara, that we have miracles happening every single day. Also reminds me of like Daf Yud Gimel Amud Beis with the Megillas Tainus, right? That we said Hananya ben Garon wrote the Megillas Tainus, and then who was it? Reb Shimon Gamliel says we also love sort of these salvations, but there's just so many of them. We wouldn't be able to write all of them down. But anyways, so, right, miracles happen every day. But Rashi has a cool Rashi there with Kol Yomei Isei. He says, Sharei Kol Shamna Shmone Hidliku Min Apach. That because for all 8 days, they lit the menorah from that one Pach Shemen that they had, which actually kind of supports what I was saying yesterday, right? That it doesn't, I think generally we assume that the miracle of Hannukah was that they used up all the oil that was in the Pach, and what can they do? They assumed that it would burn out the next morning and some kind of miracle happened and it just wouldn't go out. It stayed lit for 8 days. But according to Rashi, and according to, I think, the text of the Gemara, it seems that they found this one Pach Shemen and somehow, miraculously, they kept on being able to pour more of its oil out every single day and continue to light every single day. So that's the Kol Yoma Isei. There was a miracle every single day. Sharei Kol Shmone Adliku Min Apach. They were able to light from this one Pach Shemen all 8 days, right? Every single day of the 8 days. Aval Zman, however, and this is cool, this might also help us understand why in general we only make Shechianu on the first night of Yom Tif and we don't say it all the other nights. It's because of Azman Mishehigianu Le'aschalas Man Higianu. What's the text of Shechianu? Shechianu, that He's given us life. V'kiyamanu, He has established us. V'gianu Lazman Hazeh, right? That He has allowed us to arrive at this time. Well, once we've arrived, we've arrived, right? Meaning Hanukkah is an 8-day chunk of time. Once we've arrived, at the first day we've arrived. So, you're not going to make the bracha on the second night. Thank you for allowing me to arrive. I already arrived the night before, right? So therefore, we're not going to say that days 2 through 8, only on day 1. Therefore, we're going to drop Shechayanu from days 2 through 8. And therefore, on the first night, a looker will make 2 brachas of Shas Anisim and Shechayanu. And a lighter will add to that La'adik Ner Shel Hannukah. And days 2 through 8, so then a looker will only say Shas Anisim, and the lighter will say Shas Anisim, and La'adik Ner Shel Hannukah. Okay, now that we've been talking about all these brachas without actually seeing them in the Gemara, let's see them in the Gemara. Ma'ay Mevarich, what are the brachas? It's funny that we're kind of doing it out of order like this, but okay. Mevarich Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvos v'tzvanu la'adik ner shel Hannukah. So the bracha is He who has made us holy with His mitzvahs, and He commanded us to light the candle of Hannukah. And then I have a note here in the Gilyon that also adds and then Shas Anisim and also Shechianu. Now the Gemara wants to know, what do you mean God commanded us to light Hanukkah candles? Hanukkah is midrabanan. It doesn't say Hanukkah anywhere in the Torah. There's a miracle that happened during the during the second Beis HaMikdash, right? Right? During the second Beis HaMikdash. For sure it's during the second Beis HaMikdash. Yeah. So it's a miracle that happened in the second Beis HaMikdash. So it's not Midoraisa, right? Now I'm getting confused. Was it the second Beis HaMikdash or the first Beis HaMikdash? I'm pretty sure it was the second Beis HaMikdash. Maybe if someone knows, they can let us know. Whatever. Or I can look it up later. Whatevs. One of the Beis HaMikdash. Pretty sure the second one. Anyways, so how could it be? Why are we saying Asher Kiddishanu mitzvos v'tzivanu? It's only mitzvah derabanan. Meichan tzivanus? Asked the Gemara. Where did the Eibishter command us about Hanukkah? So if Avia Amar Milo Sasur. So if Avia says, it's from the pasuk that says, Lo tasur min hadavar asher yagidu l'cha yamin u'smal. Do not stray from that which the rabbis tell you, right or left. So therefore, if the rabbis say to keep Hanukkah, and to light Hanukkah candles, well then you have a mitzvah to listen to them. So that's the mitzvah that you're making a bracha on. Rav Nechemya Amar, although there's a different gear to that, is Rav Nachman bar Yitzchak Amar. Shalavicha v'yagedcha zekenecha v'yomer lach. So he learns it out from a different pasuk, which is, ask your father and he will tell you, your elders and they will say to you. Meaning, I guess whatever your elders say to you, you have a responsibility to listen to that. And that's why you could say Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvosav v'tzivanu. Masav Rav Amram. Rav Amram has a kash. Rav Amram has a problem with this. Rav Amram has a problem saying that you make a bracha on derabbanans. How come? Hadmai, because when it comes to demai, okay, what's demai? Demai, of course, it's come up in the past. Demai is produce that was sold to you by an Amma Aretz, or maybe even given to you by an Amma Aretz, and you can't say for sure, you can't assume necessarily that Meiser was separated from this produce. So it sounds like midirabanan, you would then have to separate your own. It sounds like midaraisa, you could probably assume that it was, but midirabanan you would have to separate your own meiser. So now we said when it comes to demai, me'arvin bo, you can use it for eruv, right? Eruv chatzeros and eruv tchumim, both of which concepts have come up before, right? Eruv chatzeros would be when you have multiple houses opening into one courtyard, so you join together all of the houses with a loaf of bread. And also when you want to sort of extend how far you can walk on Shabbos, so you make an eruv tchumen where you put some food down 2,000 amos away from the city, and that's considered where you're making Shabbos, right? That came up on daf. It was a chesam abayz. Yeah. Okay. So you can use bread made out of demai for that stuff. Umishtatfim bo, and you can do shitufei muvos. We've also talked about shitufei muvos. That is when you have a mavoi she'eno mefulash, right? A closed mavoi, right? Which is that you have multiple. I believe it's only by mavoi mefulash, she'eno mefulash. So I could be wrong, but you have multiple courtyards that open into this one alleyway, and that alleyway goes into the Rosh Hashanah. So you can carry, if I'm not mistaken, you can carry in that mavoi if you do shitufei mavos, if you basically join together all of the chatzerot with a loaf of bread. Okay. You would say amotzi lechem min haaretz on a bread made out of demai, and you would bench on a bread made out of demai. And now here's the important part for us. Umafrishin also arum. And you can separate, you can separate the meiser from demai. You could separate meiser from demai even if you're naked. Okay. Uven hashmashos, and also bein hashmashos on Friday, because we do not generally separate meiser on Shabbos, right? Because you're being mitakenet, you're fixing it. Therefore, we don't separate meiser on Shabbos. I guess maybe it's like a makeh b'patish kind of thing, which we'll get to later on. Although I could be wrong about that. However, demai, you can separate bein hashmashos. Okay, fine. Now here comes the question. And if you're going to tell me that whenever we have something that's midirabanan, you're going to make a bracha on it, well then that would mean that you're going to make a bracha when you separate the meiser from the demai. But over here we said he can even separate the meiser from the demai if he's naked. And if he's naked, then he's clearly not making a bracha. The pasuk says that God walks through your camp, and therefore make sure that it is holy. He doesn't want to see that he won't see in you erva. And if he's naked, so mistama, I guess his private parts would be considered erva, and therefore he shouldn't be making brachos if he's naked. So from the fact that he's allowed to separate meiser when he's naked, clearly he's not making a bracha. So Amar Abaye, Vadai didivreim bai bracha, Safek didivreim lo bai bracha. So Abaye says, yeah, you're right. He's not going to be making a bracha when he separates meiser from demai. But he also doesn't need to make a bracha when he separates meiser from demai. How come? Because when the chachamim say, right, because when you make a bracha on something that's midirabanan, it's something that's vadai. So when there's no suffix involved. So such as lighting Hannukah candles. Right? The chachamim, the Rabbanan established Hannukah. It's now a mitzvah to light Hannukah candles midirabanan. Zeu, light your Hannukah candles and make a bracha. However, when it comes to demai, the whole point of demai is that it is a suffix. Okay, the whole point of demai is that we don't know if the guy separated meiser from this produce. So therefore, out of a suffix, we are separating meiser. We are not going to make a bracha on that. But what about Yom Tov Sheni, right? Anybody who's lived outside of Israel knows that outside of Israel there are 2 days of Yom Tov, right? So if you have, Sukkot, for example, instead of just one day at the beginning of Sukkot of Yom Tov, you have 2 days of Yom Tov at the beginning of Sukkot. And yet on both of those days, you're going to be saying Kiddush, even though it's right, it's only midirabanan that you're going to have the second day of Yom Tov. It's only out of suffix that you're going to have a second day of Yom Tov. So therefore, you shouldn't have to make a bracha on that. So therefore, and therefore, if what Abaye is saying is right, that whenever you have a suffix midivreim, a suffix midirabanan, I guess that Yom Tov Sheni, is only midirabanan, which is interesting. Okay, I guess the assumption is Yom Tov Sheni is midirabanan, and it's clearly out of suffix because we're not sure, which day is the real day of Yom Tov or not, even though nowadays with the fixed calendars we do know, but because back in the day when they used to, establish the new moon based on actually seeing it, and then they would have to, go ahead and tell everybody, so that would take time, and you wouldn't exactly be sure which is the first day of Yom Tov. So anyways, and we said that you have to make a bracha, so clearly even when there is a suffix midivreim, you do make a bracha. So Hasam Kiechi Dilo Lizilzule Ba. So Abaye answers, no. That's an exception to the rule. Over there, we're concerned that if you're not going to make Kiddush on the second day of Yom Tov, so then you're not going to take Yom Tov the second day of Yom Tov seriously, right? And therefore, in that case, even though it's a Din D'Rabbanan where there's a suffix involved, you are still going to be making Kiddush so that you take the second day of Yom Tov seriously. But when it comes to Meiser from Demai, we don't necessarily need you to, we just need you to do it. We don't need you to take it so seriously, whatever, just do it. You don't necessarily need to make a bracha, and that's that. And then Rava has a different perspective, which is, Rava would say, even when it comes to suffix midivreim, suffix d'Rabbanans, you would make a bracha, and that would explain why you would make a Kiddush on Yom Tov, Sheni, that's a suffix. So then how come, if you do make brachas and suffix midivreim, so then how come you're not making a bracha by Meiser from Demai? So Rav Amar of Amir Aretz Ma'asunein. Because according to Rava, Meiser isn't a suffix, Demai is not a suffix. Because he says, most Amir Aretz that were concerned that they didn't separate Meiser, most Amir Aretz do in fact separate Meiser, and therefore, really, you can assume that Meiser has already been taken from it. And as Rashi points out, Udumai afilu suffix lo abe. It's not even a suffix. El chumra ba'alma. It's just a chumra that we're just being machmir, strict, to say that, it separate Meiser from this Demai. But because most Amei Aretz do in fact separate Demai, you really don't have to. And because you really don't have to, so that is why you don't make a bracha when you separate Demai. So Lemaisa we say you do have to. But because Me'ikra didn't, you really don't have to. You're not going to be making a bracha. The reason why we say to separate Meiser from Demai is only because it's a chumrah in general. Okay. Amar Rav Huna said, Rav Huna, Chatzur sheyesh la beis psachim tzricha shtei neris. Okay, this is interesting in a certain way. So, a chatzur that has two entrances, and that doesn't mean that the chatzer, that the courtyard itself has two entrances. It means that if you have a house that opens up into a courtyard, right? And this house has two entrances to it. You would have to light a candle at each entrance to the house. Amar Rava, lo amaran ela mishtei ruchis, aval miruach achas lo tzarich. Now Rava says you would only need to put a candle at each door if each door was on a separate side of the house. But if you have both doors on the same side of the house, you would only need to light a candle by one of the doors. Okay? Let's explain what's going on. My timer. How come this halacha? How come, if you have two doors to your house, you have to put a candle at each door, but if they're on the same side, you don't? What's pshat? If we're worried about yentas, if we're worried about people who are going to walk by, it's going to be the talk of the town. Did you hear? Yankel didn't light Hannukah candles, right? We're worried about those yentas. I don't know why we should be worried about yentas, but for some reason we are. So, if we're concerned about suspicion, right? Some yentas that are going to suspect that we didn't light Hannukah candles without chashada deman. Which yentas are we worried about? If we're concerned about the yentas of the world, meaning people who come from a different city, who don't know Yankel, and all they're going to see is that, right, so they don't know, right, so all they're going to see is that they don't live in the city. They're not familiar with the architecture of Yankel's house. And all they're going to see is that there are two doors to the house. One of them has a Hannukah candle. One of them doesn't have a Hannukah candle. They're going to assume that two families must live in this house, and one of those families didn't light Hannukah candles. Ay, 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 ay. So because we're concerned about that, so then that's why you have to put a candle at both doors. well then afilu buracha chasnami libai. But if that's the case, then why should it matter if the doors to your house are on two separate sides of the house? Even if they're on the same side of the house, these yentas from outside of the community might, of course they're probably going to assume, because they're yentas, they're probably just assuming the worst. So they're probably going to assume that, even if the two doors are on the same side of the house must be split right down the middle. The two doors are actually two different families, and still one of those families didn't light menorah, Hannukah candles. So therefore, if we're concerned about external yentas, then you should have to light at both doors, even if they're on the same side of the house. But if we're concerned about the local yentas, right, that that they're going to say, what's pshat? How come Yankel didn't light Hannukah candles? Well then, afilu mishnei ruchos namilo libai. Well then, if it's local yentas, well they know that Yankel has two doors to his house, and therefore, even if the doors are on two separate sides of his house, well then, who cares? They know that, so they won't see the candle at this door, and then they'll keep on walking and they'll see the candle at the other door. They'll be like, oh, okay, great. Phew. Yankel lit Hannukah candles. We could still marry his daughters. It's okay. So l'olam mishum chashadet b'nei mata. So really we're concerned about the local yentas. V'zimnin dechalfe b'hai v'lochalfe b'hai. And sometimes the yentas, they might walk by one side of the house and they won't see the Hannukah candles, and they won't walk by the side of the house with the Hannukah candles, and because they're yentas, they're just going to assume the worst, and they're going to assume that Yankel didn't like Hannukah candles at all, and that nobody in the community is going to be able to marry his daughters, and it's going to be a really, really big scandal. So therefore, to avoid this scandal, Rav Amri, they're going to say, Kechi de b'hai pischa lo adlik b'hach pischa. So, what? Rav Amri, Kechi de b'hai pischa lo adlik, b'hach pischa nami lo adlik. They're going to say, and just like Yankel didn't light candles and put it by this door, he must not have also put it by the other door, and it's going to be a humongous scandal, and it's going to create lots of machlokes. So therefore, because we don't want that, we sort of give in to the yentas, and we tell Yankel to light at both of his doors. Okay, look, I don't see why we have to live our life concerned about yentas, but okay, I don't know, for some reason the Gemara wants to say we do. So we're not tamid the chashin and chashad, and where do we have this precedent? That chashad is a real thing, that suspicion is a real thing, that yentas are a real thing, and we have to play to the yentas. So, the Tanya, as we learn in a brayser, Amar Reb Shimon, says Reb Shimon, b'shvil arba dvarim amar Torah laniach peah b'sof sadeu. So there's a halacha of peah. Who could tell me what peah is? Peah is that when you harvest your field, there are three things that you need to do. Right? There are three things that go to the poor people. One is peah. That is that you leave a corner of your field for the poor people. Another one is leket, which means that if when you're gathering your stuff, like a stalk of grain kind of falls on the floor here and there, so you leave that for the aniyim. The other one is shichacha, which is that if you forget some stalks, so then you leave them as well. So now peah is specifically in the corner of your field. The question is, why does it have to be in the corner of the field? Why does it matter if I leave some a corner of the field for aniyim? What if I leave a little bit in the middle of the field for aniyim? Why does it have to be the corner? So there are four reasons why it has to be the corner. Number one is mipnei gezel aniyim, because of stealing from aniyim. Mipnei bitul aniyim. Number two is that we're worried about the aniyim being mivatel. We'll see what that means, wasting time. Mipnei chashad, and because we're worried about yentas. Umishum bal tichala, and because the pasuk says, do not harvest the corner of your field. And we're going to explain each of these things. So in Pnei Gezel Aniyim, Shlo Yireh Bal Habayis Sha'apnuya V'yomer Lekrovo Ani Harezo Peah. So the reason why you have to, one reason why you have to leave Davka the corner of your field is we're concerned that the owner of the field is going to take advantage of the aniyim. How is he going to take advantage of the aniyim? He's going to say, well, if I can leave peah not necessarily in the corner of my field, but anywhere in my field, so what I'll do is, so the field owner is going to say to himself, look, my relative is a poor person. I'd much rather give him the peah than to give random poor people the peah. And therefore he's going to wait while he's harvesting his field, so the aniyim are going to be waiting for him to leave peah. And they're going to go away for a minute, whatever it is, maybe to go to some other field to look for peah. And quickly he's going to get his relative and say, look, come, take your peah right now, while nobody else is here. and he's in the middle of sort of harvesting his field, and he's just going to invite over his relative quickly and give him the payah and b'yaitze zayin, and then he already gave his relative the payah, and then when he's done with the field, so then the aniyim will be like, hey, what about payahs? And say, no, too late, I already gave it to my relative. And so therefore, to prevent that situation, we say leave payah from the corner, so that you can't leave payah from the middle of the field. You have to put it in the corner, and then, once you've harvested your whole field and there's one corner left, well then, sure, his relative can take it if he comes first, but all the other aniyim will also know when it's going to be time for payah, because it's a specific part of his field, and they are going to be able to have an equal opportunity to take payah as well. Umpnei bittul aniyim, also because of the, so that not to have to waste the time of the aniyim, Unfortunately they're aniyim, but that doesn't mean that, we have to take advantage of them and have them sitting around waiting for you to declare your payah, because imagine if he has a big field, and he could separate payah from anywhere in the field. They don't know which part of his field is going to be payah, so they got to just wait until at some random time, whenever the farmer feels like it, he'll just say, okay people, this part of my field is payah, and then they can run and grab their payah. It's not very nice. They're going to sit around waiting. So rather, if they know that it's the corner of the field that's going to be payah, so then, they know, oh, okay, Yankel's harvesting his field. Whenever he's done, there's going to be a corner for us, and, they'll know, about when it's going to be time to collect their payah. So says the Gemara, right? So that the aniyim don't have to sit there and kind of waiting and say, maybe now the farmer is going to be leaving his payah. But like this, if they know it's always going to be in the corner of the field, they can approximate when they can come and collect. We're concerned about yentas, about people who are going to suspect the farmer of not leaving payah at all. Shaloyu ovrin v'shavin omrim, so that passers-by shouldn't chas v'shalom say tov me'er la'adam shleiniach payah b'sadeu, right? So that passers-by who come and they see Yankel didn't leave any payah on his field, right? They're going to say, wow, may Yankel be cursed because he didn't leave payah. But the fact of the matter is, he did leave payah. He just left it in the middle of his field. By the time he got to the corners of the field, he was already done with payah. So to avoid, to play to the yentas and avoid their curse, a yenta curse, so they say just always leave it at the corner of the field so that the yentas won't be confused and accidentally curse you. Okay? Umishum bal techala. And oh wow, you hear Bobo? Yeah, there's a neighbor here, Bobo. He likes to make noise. See, he's making noise. Usually he just goes, Bobo Asiri. He's part of this yeshiva over here. He's always looking for a minion. But it's a little distracting when you're trying to, learn Gemara. Anyways, so also the pasuk says bal techale. So the pasuk says, do not harvest the corner of your field, right? So 1 second. Atukulu lav mishum bal techale ninu. So the Gemara says, 1 second. We gave 3 svaras, 3 reasons why you should leave payah in the corner of your field, and then we say also because the pasuk says. Well, shouldn't that be the one reason that we give? The pasuk says leave payah. Right? That's why we leave payah. At this point, I don't care about the svaras, right? Meaning, we leave payah because the pasuk says lo sechala. So why are you saying that for these 3 reasons plus lo sechala? Payah is because of lo sechala, because the pasuk says don't destroy the corner of your field. Don't harvest the corner of your field. So the Gemara answers, Amaravim pnei ramai. No, actually this, lo sechala is actually teaching us that also the reason, it's not teaching, sure, it teaches us the halacha of payah, but what in this brisa, what it's saying, mishum lo sechala, it's saying it's teaching us because of the rama'in, the trickers, right? That the reason why we dafka leave payah on the corner of the field is because we don't want the farmer to be sneaky and he won't leave any payah at all. And then when they say, hey, you have to leave payah, he'll say, oh no, I already left it in the middle of the field. So in order to avoid him being tricky and lying and saying he already left it when he didn't, it's always going to be the corner of the field, and it'll be pretty clear to know either he did leave the corner or he didn't leave the corner. Okay. Let's go weiter. So now, let's go shtickle weiter. Amar Rav Yitzchak bar Redifa Amar Rav Huna. Says Rav Yitzchak bar Redifa in the name of Rav Huna. Okay. Ner sheish la shnei pios, ola leveis b'nei adam. If you would have a candle, right? Kind of like what's it called? Like a lantern kind of things, right? Their lanterns back then used to be like these like clay kind of, almost like a genie coming from a lantern, right? A genie comes from a lantern, right? I think. Anyways, one of those things that like, kind of looks like the thing that the genie came out of. Anyways, So it was like you put oil in it, and then you kind of have a wick kind of sticking out of it, and you would light the wick. So if you have one of those oil lanterns that have 2 wicks in it, well, then that can work for 2 people in the house, right? If you say mina mahadrin, right? But the mahadrin would have ner l'chol echad v'echad, so that could work for 2 people. Okay. So ner sheyesh la shnei pios ola lebeis b'nei adam. Amar Rava, mile kaira shemen. If you filled up a bowl with oil, v'kifa psilis, and then you just put a whole bunch of wicks inside this bowl that's filled with oil. Kafa alea kli ola l'cham b'nei adam. So if you kind of put some kind of kli, maybe like some kind of like plate in the bowl or something that would like hold all the wicks in place, so they wouldn't kind of all congregate in the middle, well then it could work for multiple people. However, lo kafa alea kli asa k'mei medura v'afilu echad nami eina ola. However, if you didn't put some kind of kli in this big bowl or this big vessel, well then they're all just going to congregate together, in which case it's going to be more like a medura, like a bonfire, than it is a candle, and we need it to be a candle, so then it won't work for anybody. Okay. Amar Rava. So now we're starting to see, I think, for the first time, the whole inyan of lighting Shabbos candles on Friday night. Meaning up until now we've been talking about which wicks you're allowed to use and which oils you're allowed to use, but nobody ever said why you're lighting Friday night candles in the first place. So I think this is kind of like the first time we have an illusion. But apparently I think maybe on Chafei Amud Beis we might talk a little bit more about it. But in the meantime, Amar Rava, says the holy Rava, Pshitali, it's obvious to me, Ner Beso v'Ner Hannukah, Ner Beso Adif. If it's between Ner Beso is the Friday night, is the Shabbos candles, right? That he lights for his household, so that, as Rashi says, Shebnei Beso mitztarin leishev b'choshech. It's tsa'ar, it's uncomfortable, it's unpleasant for the people of his household to have to sit in darkness. So therefore, he lights a candle on Friday night, for Shlom Bayis, so that people should be comfortable. And if we remember back, what daf was it? I don't remember, maybe it was daf Yud Amud Aleph, right? So we said that Bekoshi, Hitiru, Nichum Avelim, and, I don't know, somewhere on some, either Yud Amud Aleph, Yud Amud Beis, something like that. We said that, with difficulty, they permitted people to, visit the sick and comfort mourners on Shabbos because it's tsar for them. So we don't want tsar. So therefore, because we don't want people to be uncomfortable on Shabbos, so you light a candle in your house, and that's Shabbos candles. So now, this is also you're only talking about 1 candle, which is interesting also. We generally light like a minimum of 2, but I don't know, this might only be 1 candle. But anyways, so I'm Rav Pshitali Ner Beso v'Ner Hannukah Ner Beso Adif. It's obvious to me that if a person was poor and he only had enough money for either a candle for Shabbos candles or a candle for Hannukah candles, so the Shabbos candles wins. Mishum Shlom Beso, because we're concerned about Shlom Bayis, that we want people to be comfortable on Shabbos. Ner Beso v'Kiddush Hayom Ner Beso Adif. If it's between Shabbos candles, and I think what this means is buying wine for Kiddush. So Ner Beso Adif, again, he should spend that money on a candle for Friday night, for whatever, Shabbos candles. Now, 1 second. Kiddush is Mida Oraisa, right? It says Zachur Yom Shabbos Akachu Zachur El Yain. That's Mida Oraisa. However, I assume what it means is that the assumption is that he's going to have bread, and he can always make Kiddush on bread. So we're not saying that he shouldn't make Kiddush, and instead he should light Shabbos candles. I think what it's saying is that since he can make Kiddush on bread, so if the choice is between spending his money on wine, which might be mitzvah muvchar, might be better, but that also means that he won't be able to buy Shabbos candles, better you should spend the money on Shabbos candles and make Kiddush on bread. I assume that that's what it means. Okay. So Ner Beso Adif Mishum Shlom Beso. Again, because of Shlom Bayis, better to buy the Shabbos candles than the wine. Ba'i Rava, Ner Hannukah v'Kiddush Hayom Ma'u. However, Rava wants to know, what if it's between Hannukah candles and buying wine for Kiddush? Okay? We already said that if it's between Shabbos candles and Hannukah candles or Kiddush wine, the winner is Shabbos candles. Fine. But what about between Kiddush wine and Hannukah candles? So do we say Kiddush Hayom Adov Tadir? Do we say that the preference goes to buying wine for Kiddush because it's Tadir? Every single Friday night you make Kiddush, whereas you're only buying Hannukah candles on Shabbos once per year. Or maybe spending the money on the Hannukah candle is preferred because of Pirsum Nisa, to publicize the nace that happened. So Basudi Baya, their Pashta, after Rava asked the Kasha, he then answered his own question. Ner Hannukah Adif Mishum Pirsum Nisa. The preference goes to lighting Hannukah candles because of publicizing the nace that happened, and therefore you would spend the money on the Hannukah candle over the Kiddush wine. Very, very interesting. So I guess he probably had enough money for 2 candles, right? So the first one is going to go for Shabbos candles, for the Shabbos candle, and then the next one would go for the Hannukah candle. Okay, fine. Amar Rav Huna, says Rav Huna, Haragil Bener Havyon Le Banim Tamidei Chachamim. Somebody who is Ragil Baner, and Rashi says what? Rashi says, where does he say? I thought Rashi says somewhere Ner Shabbos and Ner Hannukah. Yeah, exactly. Aidei Ner Mitzvah the Shabbos v'Chanukah. I'm in Rashi Banim Tamidei Chachamim. Aidei Ner Mitzvah the Shabbos v'Chanukah ba'or Torah. Oh, because through the candle of the mitzvah of Shabbos candles and Chanukah candles comes the light of Torah. Oh, so somebody who is ragil to light, who lights Shabbos candles and Chanukah candles, so then he will have children who are Torah scholars. Hazar b'mezuzah zocheh l'diranah. Somebody who is makbid on, who is careful about putting up mezuzahs on his doorposts, so then he will merit to a beautiful home, a beautiful apartment. Hazar b'tzitzis. Somebody who's very careful about wearing tzitzis, or maybe also making sure that they're tied well. So zocheh l'talisna. So he'll get a good, I don't know if this means like a good like talis, like we wear when we daven, or like a good like, he'll have nice clothing, right? He's makbid for tzitzis, he'll have nice clothing. Hazar, like a nice cloak. Hazar b'kiddush ayom zocheh memale garvei yain. Oh, somebody who is careful when it comes to kiddush on Shabbos, he is going to merit to fill up jugs of wine. That sounds nice. Rav Huna avaragel avachalev v'tani apischa de Rabbi Avin nagara. Oh, so Rav Huna would often pass by the entrance of Rabbi Avin the carpenter. Chazad avaragel b'shragei tuva, and he saw that Rabbi Avin the carpenter was very, he was very, I guess, into Shabbos candles. I don't know if it means that like because he was a carpenter, like, you know, maybe like his focus, like his specialty was like making like candelabras, maybe. Maybe that's what it means. Or maybe just he saw that he was more makbid about Shabbos candles than other people. I don't know how he could be more makbid than other people. Maybe like, I don't know, sometimes you go to like people's house and they have like all sorts of like interesting customs, like lots and lots of candles, or who knows. So maybe that's what it means. But in any event, he was very makbid when it came to, he took Shabbos candles very seriously. Omar, so Rav Huna said, there are going to be 2 great men that come from this home. So Nafke Minayu, Rav Idi bar Avin, Rav Chia bar Avin, and sure enough, from that home came Rav Idi bar Avin and Rav Chia bar Avin, who were great Torah scholars. Maybe this is sort of like the beginning of, or maybe this is why we light 2 Shabbos candles, right? We saw that he was makbid for Shabbos candles, and for some reason 2 Talmidei Chachamim were going to come from him, maybe because Shabbos candles are 2. But that wouldn't necessarily work with the next story, which is Rav Chizda, that Rav Chizda would often pass by the door of Rav Shezvi's, or I guess what turned out to be Rav Shezvi's, Rashi says it's either his father or his father-in-law, and he saw that also Rav Shezvi's either father or father-in-law was very, took very seriously Shabbos candles. And he said, wow, a great man is going to come from here. Nafak minau Rav Shezvi, and sure enough, Rav Shezvi came along from this house. Okay. Divisudu Rav Yosef, Rav Yosef's wife, Havas me'achra umadlekes la. She would light Shabbos candles very close to when Shabbos started. Amar la Rav Yosef said to her, Tanya, of course, Rav Yosef with his brises. So Rav Yosef brought a brisa. The pasuk says that the pillar of cloud would not leave the Bnei Yisrael during the day, and there was always a pillar of fire at night. And the thing is that pasuk is extra. You really don't need that pasuk, right? Because we already says, right, if we look at the pasuk, it says, V'Hashem holech lifneim yomam ba'amud eish lanchosam aderech, that the Eibishter would walk in front of them during the day with a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way. V'layla ba'amud eish l'har eloim l'leches yomam v'layla, and at night with a pillar of fire to give light to them so that they can walk day and night. And then it says, Lo yamush amud anin yomam v'amud eish l'layla lifneim, and the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire would never leave them. So like, we already know that from the first pasuk that they had this pillar of cloud and pillar of fire. So what do we learn from this pasuk if it's not needed? So Melamed she'amud anan mashlim the amud eish, that means that when the amud anan, that when the pillar of cloud would complete its shift during the day, so the fire was already there. The pillar of fire had already gotten there beforehand. And when the fire pillar was finishing up its shift in the morning, the pillar of cloud was already there, towards the end of his shift. So the point being that you should already be lighting Shabbos candles a little bit before Shabbos starts, not like right at the, right when Shabbos is coming in, but rather as sort of Shabbos comes in, you should already sort of ease into it by lighting Shabbos candles a little bit before then. Maybe that's why we light Shabbos candles like 18 minutes before Shkia. In Yerushalayim, we actually light Shabbos candles 40 minutes before Shkia. So Savra La'akduma, she said, oh wow, that's cool. Okay, maybe I'll do it like very early. Maybe just like the whole Friday afternoon, I'll already have the Shabbos candles lit. So Amala Usava, so a certain elder, and whenever we have Ahusava, I think the assumption is Eliyahu Hanavi. Tanina, that I've taught, Ubavad Shelo Yakdim V'Shelo Ya'acher, that you should not bring it in too early or too late, right? Too late, of course, would already be Shabbos, so you wouldn't be able to light candles, but you shouldn't do it too early either. And actually, the Masoras Hashas points us to Daf Ches Amud Beis of Brachos, which was also in the context of Shnai Mikra V'Echad Targum, right? Somebody thought, why don't I just do it all at once? So Hahu Sava came to him as well and said, Uvavad Shelo Yakdim V'Shelo Ya'acher. So very interesting. Okay. Omar Rava said, Rava, Derachim Rabbanon, Havule Banin Rabbanon. If somebody loves rabbis, he will have children who will be rabbis. And then the Gra, interestingly enough, the Gra actually switches around these next two, right? And it says here in the Gauss Agra, there's like this note from this book called the Taklin Chadatin, and he quotes over here from this intro to the Mishnayos and Shkalim. It says, V'yesha Gauss asher kavanaso genuza, that sometimes when the Gra makes a change in the Gemara, his intention is hidden. Derech hanistar. Kimo an agaso beperek beis de Shabbos man derachim v'chule asher shamu mipiv hakadosh hu al derech haemes. That sometimes when the Gra sometimes in the Gemara he switches up some words. Sometimes it's because he's explaining Pshat. Sometimes they're very cryptic and they're based on Kabbalah. So the Taklin Chadatin brought this specific Gemara as an example of one of those changes that the Gra made to the text of the Gemara that is based on Kabbalah. So why not? Let's do it the way the Gra reads it. Be Kabbalists. So he says like this: Didachil me Rabbanan, somebody who fears rabbis, Havule Chasanvasa Rabbanan. He's going to have son-in-laws who are rabbis. Okay? Dimoki Rabbanan, somebody who gives honor to rabbis, Hu Gufe Havitzubim Rabbanan. If you honor rabbis, you yourself will be a great Torah scholar. But if that's not your thing, you don't learn so much, so it's going to be hard to be a Torah scholar if you don't learn. Well, at least, your words will be, people will respect what you have to say as though you are a rabbi, because people respect what the rabbis say. Oh, okay. Okay, and now we conclude today with Velo B'Shem and Sreifa V'chule, going back to our Mishnah on the whole long list of oils that you would not be allowed to light with for Shabbos. So one of the oils you may not use is burnt oil, and the Gemara wants to know, what is burnt oil? My Shem and Sreifa, what is burnt oil? Amarabba, said the holy Rabbah, Shemen shel Truma, shenitme'ah. Burnt oil is regular oil. Well, kind of regular oil. It is Truma oil, that became tameh. But it's not burnt oil per se. It's regular, let's say, olive oil that it happens to be truma and happens to be tameh. It's called shemen sreifa. So the Gemara says, how come? How come they call it shemen sreifa? What about it is burnt? It's just regular olive oil that happens to be truma and happens to be tameh, but it's not burnt. So the Gemara answers, sreifa omed. Since you need to burn it, we call it shemen sreifa. Since you need to burn it, it's keilu, right? We also see like lo yumat hamet, right? It says, right, lo yumas hames al pi eid echad, right? You should not, or al pi shnayim edim yumas hames, right? So based on two witnesses, the dead person shall die. What do you mean? Why are we calling him dead? He hasn't been killed yet. Well, because since once he gets convicted, he's keilu, a walking dead man. So here also, since you're going to have to burn this oil, so it's considered like it's already burnt. Uvi Shabbos my time alone. Well, how come you can't use it on Shabbos? What's the problem? This would be a perfect way to burn it, right? Meaning, if you have to burn this oil anyways, why not burn it in the context of a mitzvah? Use it for Shabbos candles. What's the problem? So my answer is mitoch shemitzvah olav levairo gezer shemayate. Because since he has a mitzvah to burn it, he might want it to burn very fast, and he's going to tilt the candle so that it burns better. Amalei Abaye. So then Abaye says to Rabbah, El miyata b'yomtiv lishtri. Well, if that's the case, that the only issue why you can't use this shemen sreifa is because we're concerned about shemayate, well then maybe on Yom Tiv it should be allowed, because on Yom Tiv you don't have to worry about shemayate, about burning about maybe moving the candle to burn it better. Alama Tanan, but why does the Mishnah say, Ein madlikim b'shemen sreifa b'Yom Tiv? That we don't light with this shemen sreifa on Yom Tiv, but who cares? If the whole point is that we're just concerned about shemayate, well, that maybe it'll tilt the flame, the candle, well, that isn't an issue on Yom Tiv, so you should be allowed to use it on Yom Tiv. How come the Mishnah says that you're not allowed to use it on Yom Tiv? So the Gemara answers, Gezer Yom Tiv atu Shabbos. You're right, Me'ikar Adin. Me'ikar Adin, you should be allowed to use shemen sreifa on Yom Tiv. However, because we're concerned that if you use it on Yom Tiv, you might use it on Shabbos, we say don't use it on Yom Tiv or on Shabbos. Rav Chizda Amar, L'shemayate lo chayshinan. Rav Chizda says that we're not concerned about shemayate. We're not concerned that maybe you are going to tilt the candle. So what is our concern? Here we're talking about Yom Tiv that fell out on Shabbos. So right now it's Yom Tiv, it's Friday. Did I say Shabbos? We're talking about Yom Tiv that falls out on Erev Shabbos, on Friday, right? So right now it's Friday, and it's Yom Tiv, and you're going to have to light Shabbos candles at some point. Now, of course, you're going to be lighting Shabbos candles before Shabbos starts, so you can be lighting it on Friday, on Yom Tiv, right before Shabbos starts. So now, and the thing is, Lefisha ain't sorfin kodshim b'Yom Tiv. And you don't burn kodshim on Yom Tiv, and truma is considered kodesh, and therefore, because we don't burn kodesh on Yom Tiv, we're not going to burn this truma oil on Yom Tiv, and therefore, that's why the Mishnah says that you may not light Shabbos candles with shemen sreifa, which is truma oil, truma puzzle oil, because we're not going to burn, because you may not burn truma on Yom Tiv, and the Mishnah is talking about where Yom Tiv fell out on Friday. But one second, but what about that other Mishnah later on, I believe on Chavdal and Amabez, that says that you're not allowed to burn shemen sreifa on Yom Tiv, which implies that this Mishnah, where it says that you can't use shemen sreifa in general, it's talking about where it's not Yom Tiv. So how can Rav Chizda say that this Mishnah is talking about when Yom Tiv falls out on Friday, and we're talking therefore about burning shemen sreifa on Yom Tiv? That's the next Mishnah. So Rav Chanina kind of comes to answer it in a way that isn't very elegant. You have to add words to it. So Amar Rav Chanina Misura, says Rav Chanina Misura, Ma tam ka'amar. Rav Chizda is coming to explain what the reason is. Ma tam ein madlikin b'shemen sreifa b'Yom Tiv. How come you're not allowed to use this shemen sreifa, this truma oil on, this pasul truma oil on Yom Tiv? Lifi, and also even, not just on any Yom Tiv, but also even when Yom Tiv falls out on Erev Shabbos. Okay, right? Lifi she'ein sorfin kodshim b'Yom Tiv. Because we don't burn Kodshim on Yom Tiv, and this Truma is considered Kodesh, and therefore we're not going to burn it on Yom Tiv. Whether that Yom Tiv is, I guess, during the week, or whether that Yom Tiv is even on a Friday. You don't burn Shemen, this Kodshim on Yom Tiv, therefore you're not going to burn this Shemen Sreifa. Tani Kavasid, Rav Chisda, we have a brayso supporting Rav Chisda, called Elu Sh'amrei Madlikin Bohen B'Shabbos Madlikin Bohen B'Yom Tiv, that any of these oils that you're not allowed to use on Shabbos, you would be allowed to use on Yom Tiv. Chutz mi Shemen Sreifa, with the exception being Shemen Sreifa, Lefi she'ein tzorpin Kodshim B'Yom Tiv, because we don't burn Kodshim on Yom Tiv, therefore you can't use the Shemen Sreifa, which is Tameh, Truma, oil, Zeu. So therefore you can't use it on Yom Tiv either. And I guess the next Mishnah is talking about Yom Tiv in general, whereas this Mishnah would be talking about Yom Tiv that even falls out on a Friday. You would not be allowed to use Shemen Sreifa, according to Rav Chisda. Okay, fine. That, my friends, was Daf Chav Gimel of Masechta Shabbos. I hope you enjoyed. Let's just recap. Okay. And the recap is as follows. So we started off with saying who is obligated to light Hannukah candles. The answer is men, women, guests are all chayiv to light Shabbos candles. Though we did say that if, not Shabbos candles, Hannukah candles, but we did say that if somebody's lighting for you at home, like Reb Zera once he got married, so then you would not need to light Shabbos candles. Again, not Shabbos candles, Hannukah candles. Which oils can you use? We said that olive oil would be the preferred oil for Hannukah candles. What blessings do we make on Hannukah candles, right? There's a difference between the first night versus the rest of the night, right? The first night you include Shechianu, the rest of the nights you do not, right? We also said that even somebody who just sees Hannukah candles would be able to make a bracha on them, assuming that he's not going to light on his own later. If you have multiple doors to your house, because of the yentas, you're concerned, right? We have to light at all the doors so that nobody should chas v'shalom create a scandal to think that you didn't light Hannukah candles. And then we had some interesting agaditas about if you light Shabbos candles, you'll have children or Talmidei Chachamim, things like that. That was cool. And then Shemen Sreifa, we talked about light that you may not light Shabbos candles or Yom Tov candles with oil that was Truma, that was Tameh. I hope everybody enjoyed. I hope you have a really, really great day. As great as I'm going to have. Bye.